Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to #Trust the Process, where we talk all about determination, resilience, and perseverance. Today, I'm joined by the independent film and theatre producer, Natalie Chan. Natalie and I did a really great Natter with Nilan video earlier, so make sure you check that out. Natalie, thank you very much for joining me again. Really appreciate your time. So here on #Trust the Process, we talk all about determination, resilience, and perseverance. I think you are a shining example of all three. So with that being said, I would like to ask you, during the course of your career, the journey that you've been on, has there ever been any times where you felt like potentially giving up?
Definitely. I think it was around September 2020. It was a particularly difficult moment because obviously we've been in lockdown for 5 months, 6 months, can't even count. I think at the beginning there definitely was a sense of solidarity that absolutely everything is closed. Everyone is still not in the same boat, but everyone is facing the same things together. And I was unemployed, and so are many of kind of my peers. So that obviously was hard, but it kind of felt manageable. It was August, September time where things start to open up. We've had a few outdoor festival happening in London. A lot of events. Events were allowed to go ahead in some capacity. I thought it's time to kind of start applying back for jobs and kind of hopefully kind of getting back into the industry and kind of get back into working. I survived on several emergency grants, and social media doesn't help because you see a lot of your peers are also kind of things are starting back up for them. Yeah. I had I applied. So just to give a bit of context, obviously I wanted to be a producer, but particularly in theatre, there are lots of jobs that require some of the skill sets of the producer that aren't called a producer, and kind of we all do, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, we all do several jobs in order to survive. And I think my background, one of the jobs that I did until COVID hit for about 18 months was a fundraising assistant job for a theatre. So I dealt with kind of writing thank you letters, drafting fundraising applications. That's one of kind of the skill sets I had. So I applied for 3 fundraising jobs within theatre and I thought I put a lot of care into my applications. I thought I'd meet the criteria perfectly. And I didn't get an interview for 2 of them, and for the 3rd one I got an interview for, I didn't get it. I didn't get past the first round. And that was kind of all happened in the same week for some reason. And that was the moment I felt like maybe I should just give up. Yeah. And I thought about kind of I wasn't sure what else I could do as well. And what had stopped me was, so again, I'm very lucky to be on this we specifically in the arts and culture sector, there were some sector leaders organised a programme called Here to Stay. So that was recognising that people who are Black, Asian and ethnically diverse are more likely, are disproportionately affected by job loss within the industry. Both, I think it's true across both theatre, film, particularly. So there is a care package, there's a care programme that particularly protects people of it doesn't protect, it won't stop job loss, but kind of provide some care to people of that background, which I identify as, to help them kind of ensure they can find ways to remain in the industry. They're helping me with my CV, covering letter and all of that. There was someone else in the program who I'm now good friends with. She's also a fundraising person, and I met her at the beginning of the program, but I was and I was still a bit okay, we got on, but you're going to go for the same jobs as I am. So I'm trying to not make friends with you, make friends with other people. I didn't say that to them at the time, but that was something I was secretly thinking about. I was just so kind of I don't know why, but I reached out to her. I was I don't know whether you did as well. I applied for these 3 jobs. I didn't get it. I am about to, I think, I don't know, it just feel like giving up. And then we had a Zoom chat. And she also applied for the exact same 3 jobs that I did. That happened. And she also didn't get it. And that moment, that Zoom was magical. I thought, like, I don't know, and we just, I mean, I didn't specifically ask to chat about that, but I was like, we've both kind of admin, producery type people within the sector, and we both have skills in fundraising. Do you want to have a chat of how your job hunting is going? I didn't specifically, but then it got talked about in the Zoom that we applied for the same stuff. And that, I don't know, that was a really, really magical moment that I suddenly felt that I genuinely wasn't alone. We also made a bit of an agreement that we could help proofread each other's applications, because it's just so hard writing your own application and then having to proofread, like, you just don't have and having someone who understands to kind of like proofread it to make sure it stands out, and then whoever gets it, it's the right thing for the person, rather than like, I made a typo on or whatever that is. But then I guess I was very, very lucky that the 4th one came through, so we didn't do that at the end. So I got my current job at Creative Youth kind of a week later after that, and that was because I had been freelancing kind of on and off for this organization kind of throughout, but it was only kind of half a day a week, sort of like fundraising support for them. And suddenly, like, kind of there was a moment where their internal staff member found a better job and left, and there was a role available, so that was offered to me. So that happened a week after that really wanting to give up moment. So that's my story.
Wow. So yeah, essentially the reason that you kept going, the reason that you didn't give up, is because you found someone who was going through something very similar, and you found that camaraderie and you found that support network.
Absolutely.
To remind you maybe of why you got into it in the first place, and the fact that with other people going through similar stuff, you've got every reason to keep going, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which is very inspirational. And I think that hopefully that's a lesson that a lot more people can take out of this. I also want to ask, what advice would you have for someone who felt like you did, who in this time feels like maybe that they want to give up on their creative endeavors? Maybe you can speak specifically about aspiring producers and people that want to do what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely keep talking to people who do the same thing, keep having conversations. Often by hearing from other people, by listening to other people, you will kind of like, you'll remember why you're doing kind of your passion in the first place. Absolutely, for producers, I think absolutely remember that everything that you do makes a difference. Don't think that you don't have anything to give just because, if, for example, if you're unemployed, you're not doing anything. You can do more than you think you can. And don't underestimate yourself. So I think through the BFI Academy, I was doing a few sort of like one-to-one chats with more recent graduates. I thought I was inexperienced. I was starting out, but actually I still had like about 2-3 years experience, and I was kind of like telling them, I was offering a little bit of advice, signposting to them on these Zoom calls. I also helped kind of organized a Skillshare spreadsheet, which is still going, but it's a bit quiet at the minute, on a BFI Academy group where people talk about a skill that they can offer and something they need, kind of like to help match make people. I think definitely keep talking to people, think of what you have and see if you can do something with it. But it's also okay to absolutely take a break when you need to. Yeah, and yes, and that would be my advice. Yeah.
Very good advice. Very well said. I would probably also add that this year, I'd say the last 12 months has been, and again, the word unprecedented is used all constantly, but I don't want to tempt fate, but we're not likely to have another year like this again. So everything that it feels like we've gone through, particularly in terms of the creative sectors, where it felt at one point people were being told to change career paths, forget this line of work. That's not the case. And if anything, film and TV in particular has bounced back stronger, and it's never gonna go the way it looked like it was going in March, April, where it was like, hold on a minute, what's going to happen here? So I would say it's been a massively difficult time, especially for people starting out. But I think we're through the worst of it. I hope we are.
Yeah.
Keep going, and don't forget that you've gotten through this, but there are much better times ahead, and always have that at the front of your mind. And as Natalie said, always remember why you're doing it in the first place, because that'll keep you going.
Yeah, no, totally. I remembered what I wanted to say, by the way. Oh, if that's okay to add one thing.
Yeah,
I think it's, and if, I guess, like, for example, like me, you realize you've lost your job or in a similar position, I know it's so hard to think of it at the time, but try and see that as an opportunity. I know it's really, really hard, but what I guess obviously was quite obvious of what I could do with my skill sets, but create your own, because obviously everyone's different. But as I mentioned, I was working as a fundraising assistant for about 18 months in a theatre venue in London, and it was great. And I gained a lot of the skills. And then obviously when it all happened, I realized I'm in a position where I need to apply for emergency funding and etc. in order to survive. And a lot of those skills have shown through. I was totally capable. Turns out I was never confident in submitting a funding application in my old job. I was always needing to go through all my line managers to sign it off. Even though towards the end of it, my line manager was like, you've done a brilliant job, just submit it. I was still scared to do it. And then when this scenario happened, I was just kind of like left. I have to submit it myself. Like, no one's going to proofread it for me. And it turns out I helped a few other people to do that as well. And turns out I realized I'm totally capable of using the skill sets that I've done in a role for other people to create my own agenda through it. Obviously, everyone's skill set is different, but I would definitely remember the skills that you have and do something transformative with it.
Very well said. Natalie, thank you so much for your time and for your advice and for your wisdom, and most importantly, for sharing your journey. I really appreciate it. And I think hopefully the guys at home will take something from it, because I think we've spoken about some really important stuff, and hopefully we will all get through this really, really difficult time. And yeah, as I said, there's good times ahead. Guys, if you've enjoyed this video, drop a like on it, comment down below if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to say. And yeah, if you're currently enjoying this video series, #TrustTheProcess, subscribe to the channel, because there's loads more to come. I've got more guests coming up, and yeah, we're going to be talking a lot more about determination, resilience, and perseverance. So yeah, Natalie, thank you again.
Thank you so much. And
you're very welcome. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.